Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm your host Arnav Sarkar here once again with Andrew Rice. Basically a permanent co-host as of now at least for the show. So NBA Stanley Cup Finals in full swing. I mean, we're probably very close to the end of it. Tonight's Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. NBA Finals are 5 games in. A lot of kind of a big swing of events happened in the NBA Finals that kind of indicate the winner, which we'll get to in just a second. But there's also a lot of NBA offseason news. We'll talk some baseball, some Yankees, some Red Sox news as well. Big trade recently happened. And then also a lot of soccer's going on with both the Gold Cup and the Club World Cup, both of them in the United States. And then some other news that we could start with involving Rutgers is the official blackout game of the season has been announced, and as expected, it's against the Iowa Hawkeyes. First Big Ten game for a blackout game, Friday night game, pretty much the same setup as we had last year. Friday night Fox nationally televised game. Like I said, first Big Ten game. Friday night opener under the lights. I mean, it really doesn't get better than that. So, it feels like Iowa is like a team that's like usually a little bit better than Rutgers. Rutgers hasn't beaten them, but not too much better. So it's like, can an upset happen? Like, absolutely will it? Not entirely sure, but I mean, Rutgers will likely go into that game 3-0, assuming they handle the non-conference slate, which they have in previous years. And especially without a Power 5 on the schedule this year, they should be able to do that. So Iowa's going to be a really big litmus test for the Scarlet Knights. And once again, under the lights for the best game of the season, there's going to be a light show, fireworks, the whole 9 yards. They really do a good job with that. But I guess what are your thoughts on the matchup being official against the Hawkeyes?
Well, number one, for all the Rutgers fans that listen to this podcast, in your seat by 7:30 at that game. In your seat, not walking to the stadium, not walking around the stadium, in your seat.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the light show. That was pretty.
Don't want to miss the light show, and it's a recruiting thing. Most of I guess fans don't really register this, but when they show the stadium before the game, and then when they show some stadiums completely full and ours half empty, what is that?
Right.
That's a recruiting thing. That's recruits are watching. This is a night game. It's the blackout in your seat by 7:30.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't be disappointed for sure. Yeah.
No. Second of all, it seems like the exact same recipe that Rutgers had for last year. Washington was the first Big Ten opponent of the season. Mm-hmm. Rutgers had never beaten Washington in the three or two previous matchups before the blackout game.
Yeah.
Some people are going to say that they got lucky in the blackout. I kind of have to agree with them because they missed a lot of give-me field goals. But either way, they're looking to get their first ever win against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Nationally televised game. I think the first one of the season.
Yeah.
I guess first night game of the season. I mean, they have one against Howard, I think, at the beginning of the year. No.
I think it is the first night. No, Ohio is the first game of the season, which is
Ohio. That one's at 6 o'clock, so not really a night game.
Kind of an evening time game, I guess.
Yeah. But
opener,
Friday night against the Hawkeyes.
Let's go. I'm excited.
A team that beat us on, I believe, a Friday night beforehand, or at least under the lights, because I remember.
I remember that one a few years ago too. Kind of that's another similar theme to like what we had a few years ago. So I mean, like, because I remember that game too, like Rutgers going through the non-conference slate undefeated as usual, although they did kind of struggle against Temple that year, which was kind of a warning sign. The offense wasn't really too great, but they got through 3-0. They also beat BC. Yeah,
it was putrid.
It was horrible offense. They got through. They beat Boston College on the road, which had fans excited, especially given the comeback. But turned out that BC team wasn't very good. Then they absolutely demolished Wagner, but that didn't really mean much of anything. Then they go to yeah, I mean, it's Wagner. Then they go to Temple, knock off Philly 16 for, or not Philly, the Eagles. No, I'm just kidding. But no, they knock off the Temple Owls 16-14, which was definitely a big scare. But still, I mean, there was a lot of excitement for that game. That one was the first night game in like I think 5 years, since like 2018 or something like that. So that one was a lot of fun because fans were anticipating that. I was in the marching band for that. That was my first night game with the Rutgers band too, and it was the first night game in a long while. So I don't think anyone really knew what to expect. But I forgot if that was I think the blackout that year happened 2 weeks later when they took on Nebraska on a Friday, and they lost. But anyway, so I mean, I guess my point being, yeah, I mean, it feels like kind of similar game to that game, given they're probably going to start 3-0 again, almost definitely, fingers crossed and whatnot. But I mean, and then rolling into that one, again, same thing with like the Iowa game and the Washington game, Big Ten openers, a good opponent coming to town, nationally televised, Fox, like Friday, like everything kind of points in the same direction. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, against Washington, yeah, I mean, I feel like Washington definitely outplayed Rutgers, but they also made a lot of mistakes. Like they had some bizarre penalties, they had very bad red zone execution, some missed field goals, and Rutgers took advantage. And all of those things are a part of the game. And I'm glad Rutgers was able to get out with the win. But it feels like for whatever reason, Iowa's just that much tougher because their defense is on like
glass ceiling. They haven't been able to break it.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's like, so I mean, it's very frustrating because no matter how good Rutgers does in the first 3 games, they're probably going to still be underdogs to Iowa, but not severe. I mean, it might be within a touchdown of a spread, something like that. But I think Iowa's also made improvements on offense too, so their offense isn't going to look putrid. Also, Rutgers has obviously made improvements on their offense too, so it's not going to be probably as bad as previous years. But at the same time, it's always like a big measuring stick game for Rutgers. So I mean, if this year's the year they can break through in front of the blackout crowd, I mean, I think that would put them, on a really good trajectory for the season. I mean, they start off 4-0. Then they have a couple of road games at Minnesota, at Washington, who, Rutgers actually beat last season in thrilling victories, both of them. So, I mean, yeah, if Rutgers could really, get that W, I think that would look really good for them. And obviously, like it would be a glass ceiling type victory for Rutgers because it feels like Iowa's like a tier above the Scarlet Knights, and Rutgers kind of had a little bit of trouble with that. So if they can really get through to the next level, that would definitely signal like a program or a season defining win. Like that they took the next step. So I mean, I really hope they do, because Iowa isn't like a Penn State or an Ohio State where the game really should be out of reach, but for some reason it tends to be that way. I don't know why. Hopefully this year is the year that Rutgers can change that.
They could be like that sometimes. I mean, they could be in the national championship conversation occasionally, just not all the time.
Yeah, they're kind of in the middle. Yeah, because they've also had like those sneaky good years where they're 10-2 or 11-1, like top of the Big Ten West. And then,
I mean, they were in the Western, the Big Ten the Western champion for several times,
right? Because they lost to Michigan. Because the whole Big Ten West isn't very good. But that being said, they're still the best out of that bunch, and their defense is elite. I mean, they can hold them in most games. The only times where they really get outmatched is where the other defense is just as good and the offense is like way better, and that tends to be against only like the Big Ten's elite opponents. So, but yeah, I was definitely like probably a second tier team during their good seasons. At worst, usually even on their not so great seasons, are usually a third tier mid conference team. So a good measuring stick game for Rutgers. If they can get that one, I think they'd be in really good shape. And then some other games to circle on that calendar. I mean, I think the rematches this year against Washington and Minnesota are going to be tough. I mean, both of those teams were definitely in Rutgers' weight class and could have gone the other way. And maybe if it was at a different time of the season and Rutgers was at home, Minnesota actually, they beat Illinois, who's ranked. They almost beat Penn State. So I feel like they were a little bit better than maybe that game indicated. Washington, obviously, could have possibly won that game. So those two programs are both going to be looking for revenge on the Scarlet Knights too. So, I mean, but at the same time, by no means is Rutgers, out of those games. So, I mean, those are going to be
I was going to say, I want to kind of break it down like this, right?
Yeah.
There's 12 games in the season, right? The first 3 you should win no problem, right?
Right.
There's another 3 where you're not going to win.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. You should handle Purdue no problem.
Right.
Maryland. So we're talking about 7 games you already know the result of. They're 4-3.
Yeah, 4-3, right.
So
now we have 5 in the middle.
Yeah, the 5 in the middle. You have to go
2-3 to get a bowl.
2-3. You can have a losing record in those toss-up games and still make a bowl
game. See, that's not too much to ask for. That really isn't. So, yeah, I mean, I wrote a whole article on like ranking Rutgers football games by tiers. So, like, so out of now these middle 5 games, like, I would say like Maryland is probably like one of the easier ones. I think Minnesota and Washington are right in the middle, and then Iowa and Illinois are like at the top end of it. And I would almost put Illinois like very close to like the next tier up, but I would say Iowa and Illinois are both like reaches, but they're not like out of reach, I guess. Like an upside could happen, but it's given like recent history, like I really don't trust Rutgers to get it done. But can it happen? Absolutely. The games that I think Rutgers could win, Minnesota, Washington, Maryland, I could definitely see that happening. Will all 3 of them happen? Not entirely sure, but I could very well see them going 7-5. I think 8-4 is gonna have to take an upset.
But the thing with what you're saying here is that, I'm honestly like, Rutgers had Illinois on the ropes.
They did.
One call and they could have won.
They would have had that. So they're very, very close. And like Illinois was a very respectable, not even respectable. They're just like, they're a very solid team last year. So I mean, Rutgers, to be that close to winning that game, like it shows that they've taken strides. I mean, they're, obviously their offense is no longer like dormant in a Big Ten game, which they can compete with anyone. I mean, those last 3 games of the season, I mean, really that last month. But exactly. Illinois, Michigan State, like pounding it on them the next week. Even the Kansas State loss, even though it was a loss, it was deflating. I mean, for them to be able to hang in that type of game just shows how much progress they've made. I mean, the Calig Manis and receivers and Ian Strong, and they've had, Dymere Miller is now leaving the program, but they have so many good, pass
I'm excited about the offense.
Yeah, the run game too. I mean, Monangai obviously, but now this year Antoine Raymond stepping in there, CJ Campbell transferring, and this offense looks good. The defense I think is going to be solid with Weaver and O'Neal coming in on the edge. I'm really excited to see that. A lot of enforcement all over the portal in the secondary, so it should be a good season. Like I said, I mean, I think 7-5 is very doable, but maybe
I am a tad worried about the secondary because we just don't know how good.
Yeah, because there's a lot of transfers, right? And more than a few. There's like 2 or 3 transfers coming in.
Because we have the kid from Penn State who
Cam Miller at corner.
Even though he went to Penn State and decided to transfer out,
right?
And even though it's Penn State and they have talent up the wazoo, he also went to a Big Ten program, did not succeed, and now goes to us.
Yeah.
Not exactly my favorite ideal. And Jetty lad, pretty good with UNLV, but it's still UNLV. We have to see if he makes that jump up.
Right.
So it's just there's too much when it comes to the pass defense, there's too much question marks. And also when it comes to the run defense, with Keontae Hamilton no longer patrolling the middle, we don't know. We're saying we're going to have a defensive tackle by committee. Not thrilled about that either. We just don't know. That's the issue. We don't know.
We don't know how
good this defense is going to be.
I think the edges are going to both be really, really good, but around that, like you're right. We don't really know how the run defense is going to look, and then the secondary too.
you got to think about where do you have your stars. You have your stars on the edge, and you have Jabome.
Jabome's an elite
at linebacker.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be great.
But where else?
Yeah, that's true. And Cam Miller also I think he played safety for Penn State. I think he's making a position change to a corner, if I'm not mistaken, too. So that should be, because I think that was one of the main reasons he wanted to transfer too. I think because he was playing safety there. I think he was the one who like ended up slipping against Notre Dame, and then they ended up scoring. But that aside, like he's going to play corner at Rutgers. Elad's going to play safety, obviously coming in from UNLV, and then I think one of their other corners, Jacoby Henderson's also a transfer from, I think, Marshall or one of those group of 5 programs. So there's a lot of movement in the secondary because obviously longer beam and some of the other guys, graduated, went to the NFL, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it should be interesting.
It will be very interesting to see how everything unfolds. However, if Bo Masco has a breakout season where he shows that he can be a Max Melton, Robert Longerbeam type talent, that takes so much pressure off. He looks primed to take that step. Hasn't taken it yet, but he looks like he's right there. So,
yeah, and then
really be interesting to see what he comes up with.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. And then on top of that, Cod Sanders, look really good as a freshman too, at free safety. And then linebackers. I mean, Jabome, I think he was the team's leading tackler, had one heck of a season. I mean, Moses Walker, I think, was stepping in on the other side at linebacker as well. So it's certainly like a lot of talent, but there's so many transfers on this defense. And then on offense, I mean, DT Sheffield stepping in at receiver. I think he's going to be a big target. Ian Strong. I mean, we've talked about the offensive line. I mean, looks like they have 5 starters and quite a lot of depth, given their use of the portal and everything. So, and then Callie Manis, I feel like he's like, the right quarterback for this team and everything. And he, really took solid strides forward in his year at Rutgers. The deep ball, I mean, everything just like looked really good with the pass game, which has been very dormant at Rutgers for a few seasons now, before that. So, I mean, yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, whether, I guess hopefully that does turn into some more wins. I mean, I know the schedule's tougher as we talked about, but yeah, I mean, I feel like, Iowa and Illinois in particular, some of the games that are like, kind of like, they're not really out of reach, but they're kind of like games where if Rutgers wins, that could be like, very program defining because Rutgers has struggled in games like that. I mean, they haven't been a top 25 opponent in a very long time. They always seem to struggle with that next tier opponent. And even Iowa, who isn't always ranked in these games and has a very similar play style to the Scarlet Knights, like they've struggled. They haven't been losing by 1 or 2 points or 3 points either. It's been like, 10, 17 points, and it absolutely shouldn't be. So hopefully this is the year that if they don't, they close the gap, if not get a win in one or both of those games. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, if not, at the very least, they end up going 7-5 and they bring home some of the other games. I think that would be a successful season given that the schedule is that much tougher. But really excited about the blackout announcement and, of course, just the football season, college football season coming up in the fall. So yeah, I guess with that being said, we could transfer over now to our main topics of discussion. As usual, the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. We can start with the NBA, and then we'll go over the Stanley Cup. So I mean, a lot's kind of happened since we last chatted about this last week. The series has been like a really interesting one. The Pacers have probably been more competitive than I think even we have expected. I think we're probably higher on them than a lot of people, but the Thunder have also just been really good. I mean, they're up 3-2, but I mean, I think the main swing of events happened in the last 2 games because going into game 3, it looked like Indiana really had figured out how to score on this defense. I mean, Ben Mathurin at 27, TJ McConnell had like 5 assists, 5 steals, and they won the game. Halliburton had a solid 22, almost a triple-double. But in game 4, I think the Pacers really let the series slip. And that's because the Thunder didn't really have such a great performance. I mean, they did, but, there's statistically, I mean, their 3-point shooting was just abysmal. They went 3 for 16 from downtown. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had no assists, and the Pacers had them on the ropes. They were up most of that game, but in the fourth quarter, Oklahoma City outscored them 31-17. And they took that game. And if the Pacers went up 3-1, it would have been very tough for OKC to come back given their lead. But now with the series tied 2-2, really felt like the Thunder gained all the momentum. I mean, SGA had 35, Jalen Williams had 27, but and then of course game 5, things took a turn for the worse. I mean, Halliburton, who's been dealing with a little bit of a left calf strain. I mean, that's been made official now. And he had his worst game. I mean, of course, given the injury, but he was still playing, and he had 4 points. Definitely limited, and it's really unfortunate too. I mean, like given the way he's played this postseason. I mean, Siakam had 28. McConnell had a legacy quarter. I mean, he just knocking down every jumper, getting to the rim. I mean, I really like the way he plays the game. He had 18. I mean, but the Thunder, Jalen Williams had 40 points. I mean, he looks like, that was just the way he scores his baskets. I mean, the way he gets to the rim, the way he puts the ball up for a layup. I mean, he's athletic. He could shoot. Like, he's a dynamic scorer, and he just seems to be getting better every game. And the way he contorts himself, in interviews and stuff, he looks very mature. He's just poised. I mean, he doesn't do a lot of trash talking. Great player, SGA 31. But I mean, yeah, this Halliburton injury really took a damper on the Pacers. And it looks like the Thunder, like this was a more typical Thunder game, where they shot well, they moved the ball, their defense was very suffocating. But it feels like, as you mentioned to me, like, it feels like the wind's kind of out of the Pacers' sails. They really lost momentum. But I think the most unfortunate part is Halliburton, because I feel like he had more to give, and like it's unfortunate that like we might not be able to see that for the rest of the series.
Yeah, well, first of all, Pacers are done. It's done.
Yeah.
You don't have Halliburton anymore. You were the underdog with Halliburton.
Yeah.
Let's be 100% honest here. With the amount of talent that Oklahoma City has, you were the underdog when you had Halliburton. Now you don't even have Halliburton.
I know.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh crap. When the scales were initially like a little bit tipped in OKC's favor, now it's like, whoever can't see my visual, one scale's all the way down, the other one's way up at the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to stay like, obviously you never want to say it's over because, any given Sunday, that kind of mentality, but
right.
It's over.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess some people would say like Halliburton, I mean, I don't know. He's been like very clutch. He hasn't exactly always been the most he doesn't, I mean, I guess because he's such a good pass assister. Like, I think that knocks his scoring a little bit more than where it should be or where it could be. But that
he's a facilitator.
Yeah, he's a pass first point guard. But he still can score a lot. He's just he obviously it's just not like SGA numbers. He's not scoring 30 a game. He's maybe scoring in the 10s and the 20s. But this game he just didn't really have it at all. And obviously his calf was bothering him. Like, that was just a bit of an abnormal performance. He didn't make a single field goal. He was also, I mean, he was passing the ball even more than usual. He just couldn't really get into his spot. And after suffering that injury, obviously dealing with the tightness, it was hard for him to really get that burst. I mean, he didn't really even take too many shots either, which was, I don't know. I think part of it was probably his nature to be a pass first player and try to make the right reads. And the other part of it was just him being limited. He couldn't exactly get to his spots the way he usually would, so he decided to pass it out. But he just was not the same player, which is again unfortunate. But the rest of the team I thought played pretty well. I mean, as I mentioned, I mean McConnell, I'm so impressed. The way he the other game he was stealing the ball off inbounds plays, putting it back up. I mean, he's the point guard of the second unit, but he really injected some life into this Pacers team, got them back into the game. I mean, he just gets to his spot and just the short jumpers, I mean, gets to the rim. He just really injected all the life into that. into that third quarter for the Pacers. They cut it down to 2, so I thought they had a little run in them. And then Siakam played great too. He had 28. I mean, Neesmith had 14. Like everyone can kind of score a little bit, but they have their moments. But and the Thunder in the fourth quarter was the Thunder, pulling away, and then it's doing what they do best, suffocating defense, transition points. But Jalen Williams, my goodness, like it feels like I've been missing out because I didn't know like he was like, I mean, my goodness, like he's like a dynamic like scorer, like the way he like attacks the rim, like I mean, it's just like it's like really special. It's like if you combine like kind of like Harden and like Durant or something like that, because he has like kind of good shooting, length, athleticism, maybe a little Westbrook in there too. But I mean, just a dynamic, young, talented scorer. He might win Finals MVP, but I mean, I feel like I don't know. I mean, it's between him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because I mean, Shai's averaged 30 points in the series, even with some of his lower nights, just because he's such a volume scorer. But Jalen Williams has started to pick up. He's increased his point total game after game. He started, I think, with like 17, and then he's only gotten better as the series has gone on. But I mean, I'm just like really impressed. Like he is going to be a bona fide star in this league. And I think we really saw it last night. So yeah, I mean, I think it was last game was the Jalen Williams game, or as they call him, J-Dubs. Because there's another Jalen Williams on that team too. But that's the main takeaway. And then I mean, because it was really him and SGA who were like scoring the bulk of the points for the Thunder.
I mean, who else does all the work, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a 3-headed monster team. But I mean, then Chet Holmgren had 9 points, 11 boards. I mean, he's like an interesting, like he's a special player too in a way because he's kind of like your modern center. I mean, he could dribble, he could shoot, he has guard-like handles, but he's also.
Well, I hope if he's in the NBA that he can dribble.
Well, yeah, I mean, not like literally. You know what I mean? Like he could dribble like a guard. Like he's not your typical stand in the post big man. And they kind of have one of those too in Isaiah Hartenstein, who's kind of like their enforcer. And I think that's he was on the Knicks last season. They got traded. And he's obviously really good at what he does and plays a more traditional inside role. But he even has good passing and ball handling skills too. And Dort is just a tremendous defender. Caruso's very like pesky. He's like kind of the McConnell of the Thunder, I mean, if you will. But like he's also does a lot of different things really well. Maybe he doesn't excel at any particular thing, but he's all over the court. He's a really good defender. He could score. I mean, he's what you want. And he could dunk. I mean, he could fly. Like he's been around the league, but he does a lot of the dirty work for the Thunder. And then Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, there's 2 other guys who could score. But I mean, I was doing like research before the series, and like on defense, obviously Thunder is suffocating, but on offense, I was rating everyone on their team can basically dribble, pass, and shoot. So there's no like liabilities and defend. So there's really no liabilities on this team in any individual spot. So it's like, and they're the way their offense works is they have like a drive and kick system. So it's like you go in the paint and then you kick it out to another player basically, and then they'll either take a shot or pass it to the next guy. And I'm sure like a lot of teams do this, and the Pacers also have a really like elite ball movement, as we saw again last night. I mean, finding open guys, but I feel like they tend to pass it more around the perimeter, which is a good strategy. But the Thunder, I mean, when they're on their best, that drive and kick strategy, getting guys open looks, I think it's really good. I mean, and then on top of that, the way they could score in transition off of steals is like, I don't think any other team really has that. So we saw all of that kind of in action again last night. So, I mean, SGA and Jalen Williams had 71 points out of the Thunder's 120. So, I mean, that just, I think, speaks for itself. So, yeah, I mean, I think Stephen A. Smith who was caught playing solitaire at the NBA Finals. He was saying like if the Thunder win game, or I think he was saying if I forgot what he said, something like really interesting. He said like if the Pacers win game 4, then it would be 3-1. But since it ended up becoming 2-2, his prediction was that each team would defend home court. And like I would really like to see the Pacers defend home court, but like I guess with Halliburton's injury, like it kind of just puts a deflator and things. Like I think if Halliburton was healthy, I think what would happen is that the Pacers would win on Thursday and then Oklahoma City would win on Sunday. But now I'm not so sure that it even gets back to Oklahoma City. Like, I feel like Thunder are just gonna end it right here and right there and then, because without Halliburton it's just gonna be very hard. And then even though it's a very raucous crowd in Indiana, just like it is in Oklahoma City, I just don't know if they really have enough to give, because obviously with the injury, like I feel like Game 4 they did have enough to give and they still lost. So I just doesn't really look too promising for me.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I mean, they're done. Like they're kind of cooked.
Yeah, they kind of are, but I mean, it's there's potential. I mean, like, but if like, I mean, you never know. But like, I mean, if the Thunder have like a really bad game, the Pacers have a good one. But that's what I felt like happened in Game 4, and the Thunder still found a way to come back and win it. And that was
just saying, are you gonna be willing to, like, you take $100? You're gonna go bet on the Pacers next game? No, you're not.
No, yeah,
and you most certainly are not gonna bet on them to win the series.
No, that was even with the healthy Halliburton, even with the whole team like playing really well. I mean, they somehow they were the ones to actually blow the lead in game 4, and it was, I don't even know how it was basically SGA just heated up, and Jalen Williams played well, and they hit all the big shots, and they got some costly stops on defense too that definitely helped them get over the edge. But I mean, it's just hard to win a game where your point guard doesn't have an assist and you shoot 3 for 16 from downtown. Like, I can't even imagine winning a game in this modern NBA with those stats. And on top of that, you're down too. You're down, like, I forgot how much they were losing by, but they were down in the third and the fourth. Like, they were down. It's basically the reverse
11,
of what
it was. I know it was 11 going into the fourth.
And the Thunder still came back, and I think a lot of that has to do with SGA, because he hit like ridiculously tough shots and whatnot, but to really get them over the line. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah, they just, when you have scorers like that, like, I mean, I guess anything can happen. So yeah, and Cruz also had a big game off the bench as well. But anyway, now it feels like the winner kind of out of the sails for Indy. It's kind of unfortunate, honestly, but I feel like they really overachieved. I mean, I don't want, not like in a bad way. Like, I'm not trying to like knock them, but I'm trying to say, like, they, considering like what people thought of them and whatnot, like for them to beat the Bucks, and then that was like nothing. I mean, considering to beat the Cavs, to beat the Knicks, who looked a lot better than last season, and then to take this Thunder team to 6 games, and it wasn't even like a ugly 6 games. It was, they had the lead 2-1. I feel like they did better than a lot of people expected them to do. And if a few things went differently, they might have had the 3-1 lead. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I think in many years they would have won the championship. It's just this Thunder team is just, they're like another level of good. Like, they, like, on both sides of the court, they have dynamic scorers, they have an elite defense, they have players who like do a little bit of everything, and like several of them. And I mean, there's a reason why they won 68 games, and like this team's like too good to like not win the championship, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But the Pacers still, with the healthy Halliburton, you'd think that this would go 7, and maybe they would find a way to win. So maybe they would have won Game 5 or even Game 4. I mean, well, Game 4, I don't know, but they, with the healthy Halliburton, they might have gotten over the line, but I don't know. But I mean, it's not for a lack of effort, because this Pacers team was truly like inspirational in a way. I mean, they like punched way above their weight, and it got them like very, very far, but unfortunately probably just not far enough against one of the best like modern teams that this game has ever seen. You know what I mean? This Thunder team is like net ratings and everything. Like, I mean, they're just like very talented, and they're only going to keep going too. They have so many draft picks. I mean, these stars are only going to get better, but eventually they're going to have to like make roster decisions to, pay certain players and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I think both of these teams, I think the Pacers will be back. But I think the Thunder are like here to stay. So, I mean, I think that they're going to be a ferocious team in the West for years and years as these players start to get into their primes, like especially like Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous.
Right. The OKC's not going to go anywhere. I mean,
yeah, they're so stacked. I don't know how on earth they got so many picks. Like the Paul George trade was just such a heist. Like, I mean, they're still paying I'm paying picks for this guy. Like, I mean, not that he was like a scrub or anything, but the Clippers have gotten like nowhere with like even this year where they had like a healthy Harden and Paul George and Kawhi, which like never ever happened. Oh wait, Paul George is in Philly, by the way. I didn't even like, geez, like you know what I mean. So that trade, they're still paying draft picks for that trade, or and Paul George is now on a different team and he's injured. So I mean, what do you know? So, but the Clippers have gotten absolutely nowhere, and meanwhile the Thunder is still building this impressive roster that is just. I mean, I feel like this rebuild was supposed to take a lot longer than it did. Like, I mean, they're supposed to be pretty good, like in the next few years, but they're already like this good now, and like it's just yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. Like they really accelerated that whole process. So I mean, good job with them and their roster construction, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is they robbed. They got a steal for Paul George. I mean,
yeah.
To think that there's
like picks first or something like that, or like including like pick swaps and whatnot.
To think that they could even still be. You can even still qualify them as building for the future, despite the fact that they just won the title.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah. You could call them like, oh, they're still building for the future. They just won the title.
Yeah. So the trade was Oladipo and Sabonis, who are now both on like different teams anyway, for Paul George to the Yeah, is that makes sense? Yeah, Oladipo and Sabonis for Paul George to the Clippers, and then for Gilgeous-Alexander, right, and Gallinari, 5 first-round picks and 2 swaps, and this was in 2019. Oh wait, no, the previous trade was when the Thunder got Oladipo and Sabonis for George. Am I saying that right? Yeah. Because then those two went to the Pacers, so the Pacers are also like involved in all of this too, actually. And then the big trade, George to the Clippers for SGA, who's now the MVP. Gallinari, I mean, I liked him, but he wasn't really anything that great. But like 5 first rounds and 2 swaps, and like I think the first round picks are going to like 2026, so they still have a couple more of those too. So anyway, I mean, yeah. So it's just they did really rob them, and yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, no, the Thunder are just like unreal. I mean, yeah, and with this Halliburton injury, it's just not really gonna work out for them so well without their, without. I mean, he both facilitates and he has a sizable scoring impact as well, and like without him, like it's just gonna be pretty impossible. But this has been a really good NBA Finals, like I must say, like Game 1, all of them really. I mean, like just really high level basketball. I mean, Game 1 with a comeback from victory from behind, and then Game 2 the Thunder flipped it. Game 3 Indiana won, and I mean, like that had a big swing. And then Game 4 obviously was the one where it really felt like Indiana could have taken control. And then here Game 5, I mean, the Thunder putting on a master class, pulling away in the fourth quarter. So yeah, it's been a really good NBA Finals. We'll see if it does get to Game 7. I most likely don't think it will, but even if it does, I also just don't think they're going to be able to get through to a championship. Yeah, it's going to be like nearly impossible. So yeah, really unfortunate. But like I said, Pacers like definitely inspirational team. Thunder like a very dominant team. And both of these teams are like very very like good basketball teams. Like this has been the best finals we've seen in some time. I mean, they might be small markets, but just so much talent. And I think you could say the same thing for the Stanley Cup too, because I mean, markets aside, I mean, this Stanley Cup playoffs has delivered game after game.
Holy crap!
This has been like the best finals, and like, and I mean, we've had 3 overtime games in the Cup finals. I mean, both like any game could go any way. I mean, there's been a couple of them where Florida's just dominated, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I think last time we left off after Game 2. So Game 1, Edmonton pulled that one out in overtime. Game 2, Florida got the win, then sent it to
double
Florida.
Overtime, right?
Yeah, double overtime. Panthers with the win. I mean, but talk about like, I mean, and then game 3, Florida really pelted it on them. Game 3 was kind of an interesting one. Like, it felt like there was a penalty every 2 minutes, and like I think there was 140 total penalty minutes in game 3 of the series, which is just absurd. And there was a full-on line brawl towards the end of the game where all 5 of them were fighting each other. That was like, it was some entertainment. And the Panthers, they got a 6-1 win. And then game 4, the Oilers flipped the script. The Panthers actually got off to a 3-0 lead in that game 4 as well. I mean, Kachuk had a couple goals. Reinhardt had a goal. I mean, but it looked like it was going to kind of be a repeat of game 3. But Edmonton was able to score 3 times in the second, and then Florida scored. Or I think Edmonton actually had a 4-3 lead. Florida got a goal, I think, very late in that game to force overtime. But then Edmonton won it at the end. I mean, Draisaitl's been scoring a lot of goals. I forget if he was the one who got the overtime goal, but yeah. Anyway, so Edmonton gets a 5-4 lead. And then around this time, they started pulling out. Stuart Skinner because he started to show his flaws again. And Calvin Pickard came in there, and he actually did a pretty solid job. This happened in game 3, and it happened in game 4. In game 5 too, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Well, game 5 was a 5-2 win for Florida, so the series goes back to Edmonton, where you'd think that the Oilers would be able to win, but the Cats have been so good on the road all playoffs long. Like, yeah, they were able to get one more, and yeah. So I mean, it's just, this whole series has just been really entertaining. So they put Pickard in, but now he had a bad game. So now Stuart Skinner is starting game 6 again, with the season on the line. So it's just really back and forth, and like I don't know, like I feel like most people would probably predict the Panthers to win, but I just have a weird feeling that the Oilers are gonna win, send it back to Canada, and then lose in 7. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't think I can tell you you're wrong, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's I don't know why, but I just feel like that's gonna happen.
With the way this series is, I don't think the Oilers are gonna win now.
I think the Panthers are going to end up winning in 7, but it could even be 6 too, to be honest with you. It could be, but I just feel like the Oilers have one last say in this before they end up inevitably losing the series, which would be more disappointing at home than on the road, but that just seems to be how it is with these Canadian teams. I don't know why. Like, first the Leafs, and then even Edmonton, like the way they lost in 7 last year. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird, but I mean, if they get back to Edmonton for game 7, you'd think that they'd be able to win. But given how good the Panthers have been on the road, like, I have my doubts for some reason. So I don't know.
I think the Panthers are waiting for the exact perfect moment to rip the heart out of every Edmonton fan in front of their home stadium.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too, because they did this like last year. They've done it this year. Like, they're a really good road team, but I mean,
they want to do that twice. They
did that twice in Toronto, right? Because they won game 5, and then this is the exact script from the Leafs series. They went down 2-0, then they tied the series, then they went up 3-2, and then Toronto beats them 2-0 in Florida. And then they go to Toronto and continue like the annual tradition of the Leafs getting embarrassed, and then they win again for the second time in 3 games at home, with a 6-1 score, like the same exact score line too, like that. It's just like embarrassing. The Oilers aren't even like the same type of choking team that the Leafs have. I mean, if they were, they wouldn't have made it this far, but it just feels like Florida wants it more. I don't know why. I mean, the few games that haven't been blowouts, the few games that haven't been close games have been Panthers blowouts. There's been 6-1, there's been 5-2. I mean, Stuart Skinner looks human again. Like, he looks, they've had to pull him out, and like, it just doesn't look good that they have all this goalie controversy, like of which goalie's starting, and in game 6 of the Stanley Cup final. And I don't know. I just feel like Florida's like the better team, and but that's why it's weird to think that the Oilers, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe the Panthers just win tonight, but I have a weird feeling. I think you're right. I think the Panthers are waiting for the chance to rip out Edmonton's hearts again in Canada. And I feel like they're weirdly going to end up losing game 6 tonight and winning game 7 in Alberta. As weird as it sounds, and as horrific as it sounds, like, I feel like that's what's going to happen, and for like the second year in a row. So, like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in terms of the action, I mean, Florida's just also really deep, and I mean, their goalie, I mean, Bobrovsky is just like such a solid goaltender. I think that gives them the advantage when Edmonton's rotating between Pickard and Skinner, like game in and game out. Like the last 3 games, they've had to like pull him out, put Skinner in, or put Pickard in, who I feel like has been better. But then this last game, like I guess he hasn't. So in the previous 2 games he was a better goalie for sure, but then the last one he allowed a bunch of goals. So now they're putting Skinner in. I don't know. I mean, I think another player I really do want to talk about for Florida is well, there's a few, but I mean, Sam Bennett's had a really good series. But I mean, he's been great. But I think Brad Marchand has just been unbelievable. I mean, he had 2 goals in Game 5. I mean, he's had overtime game winner. He's 5'9". He's like one of the smallest guys on the ice, but he's quick. He's deceptive. I mean, the way he jukes people out. He's had an unreal playoffs. He's had multiple game winners. He's had, a lot of goals. I mean, he had 2 goals in Game 2 as well. I mean, like he's just been like sensational. So I mean, Brad Marchand coming in from the Boston Bruins to the Panthers mid off season. I mean, he's been unbelievable for this team, and he's definitely got to be my pick for the Conn Smythe, which is I believe the Stanley Cup playoffs MVP. I mean, I think if the Panthers win, like he's gotta get that. I know some people are probably gonna say like Sam Bennett, but I mean I've gotta, I would think it should be Marchand, honestly. Like I don't know, maybe I just like him more, but I feel like he's had such a terrific series. It's gonna be one of those 2, but I mean my pick would be Brad Marchand, but I mean of course whoever has a big impact the rest of the series is gonna probably end up being the one to get it, because they're very, very close. Another player that could get it is Bobrovsky himself, because he's also been just like an elite goaltender. I mean, he is like not allowed much of anything past the net, but I feel like it's probably going to be Marchand as like one of the top goal scorers of the team. I mean, he's had so much impact. I don't know. What do you think about all of that? Because I'm seeing it's probably going to be one of those 3 players.
Miss him yet, Boston?
Wait, what?
Miss him yet, Boston?
Yeah, I don't really understand why they made that trade in the first place like that. Like, didn't really make a lot of sense.
Well, they're gonna try to rebuild. I mean, their core is done up in Boston.
That's true.
They got Pasternak.
Yeah,
but that's
my friend's like a big Bruins fan actually. Who Detachment used to do this podcast with. So he was just like devastated, but he's rooting for Marchand down in Florida now. So. Yeah, no, I think their core is pretty much done, I guess. So I guess they are rebuilding, which makes sense why they traded him. But I mean, it looked like kind of a steal, but I mean, it's become so much worse because Marchand's become one of the top players on this team, if not the top player for Florida, with all the goal scoring he's had. So yeah, I mean, we'll see who ends up winning this one. But I think Marchand's made the biggest difference because of. I mean, I think he's had the most goals. His goals have been like very huge, like when they've come in the series. There's just been like, I don't know. For some reason, like Sam Bennett, like I mean, he's also had a big impact, but I feel like Marchand's got to take the cake on the Conn Smythe this year.
Yeah, it'd be hard to see anybody else, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's got to be him. Yeah, so. I mean, I'm seeing Sam Bennett, I'm seeing Bobrovsky, but I don't really see it being the goalie like as good as he is. So yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, the Conn Smythe is the top player in the playoffs. It's not just the finals. So right. So yeah, so Bennett actually has 15 goals. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. In the postseason, so it might actually be him then. If it's going to be the most valuable player of the Cup playoffs, it might be him. He has 13 goals on the road, which is just like ridiculous. I mean, Panthers have been like absolutely like elite at home, or on the road. I mean, they I think they've won 10 playoff games on the road this postseason. Marchand, as good as he's been in this series, I think only has like 9 in the playoffs, which is still like a lot. And then Draisaitl has 11. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be Marchand. Yeah. I mean, he's been very clutch though. That's the thing. I mean, if like I don't know. I mean, the award is like a playoff award, but I mean, if Marchand is like gonna score another couple goals again and has like a huge impact on the series, then I would probably think it's him. But it's gonna be one of these Panthers. It's gonna either be Bennett or Marchand. I don't know. Bobrovsky is also playing really well. I mean, I think all of this just speaks on like how good Florida is as a team. I mean that they have multiple guys like on this list, for the Conn Smythe. And then their captain, Barkov. I mean, I feel like Kachuk, he's in good shape, but he hasn't really had such a great series other than that one game where he had 2 goals. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because I mean Bennett's had the most goals in the playoffs. Marchand's had the best series in the finals. So I mean, it's gonna be one of those two. I mean, I think that covers all for like storylines here for the finals. But I mean, I guess my prediction is probably like I said, like I think I have a weird feeling the Oilers are able to win it and push it to 7 and then lose. But do you think there's a chance that they just get it done tonight, or do you think this is going back to Edmonton for Game 7?
No, I don't think Florida's going to take it tonight. Could on paper they could.
They could.
I don't know, because this is like the moment where, 2 very evenly matched teams. I mean, like, can you get more evenly matched than 3 out of 5 games going into overtime?
I don't think so.
You really can't, other than, all 5 going into overtime.
Right.
I think Edmonton is going to be like, okay, backs against the wall.
Yeah.
They're going to come out with firing with everything.
Right.
Even if they have to go into overtime to do so, I think they push it back to Edmonton. Okay. However, I just don't know if they have the gas to do that for 2 games in a row.
Yeah, it seems like me and you are like have the same exact mentality on this. That like they're gonna get
We're pretty good at this.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna happen too. But I don't know if they have what it takes to beat the Cats twice in a row, because it seems like they're just as good, if not better, on the road. I mean, than they are at home. So I feel like. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think they take Game 6, lose Game 7, in Edmonton. Florida wins it, so we'll see. We'll see if it happens tonight. It could, but I feel like I think you're right. I think Edmonton's going to win in Florida. Florida's going to win in Edmonton. It's going to be very bizarre, but that's how it's been the last few years with like hockey too. Like the whole 3-0, 3-3, 4-3 thing was like the most bizarre thing I've like ever seen. So like this series has actually been relatively normal compared to that one. But yeah, I feel like there's some road magic. I think Edmonton's going to give everything they have, but then Florida's going to outlast them on the road. And because it feels like every time that there's a blowout game, it's in the Panthers' favor. So we could end up seeing a close win by Edmonton tonight, and then a blowout win in Game 7 with Florida. Like that could also potentially happen too. Like that actually might be the more likely outcome given the way the series has gone. But we'll see. I mean, I think we're headed towards Game 7. We're likely headed towards 2 close games here to end the series. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, so puck drop is at 8 tonight. It is just about 6:30 right now. So I guess getting past the 2 final series onto some other topics. There's a lot going on. I mean, the NBA off-season hasn't exactly started just yet, as the finals are still going on. But there's already been a lot of off-season buzz, a lot of trades, a lot of speculation. The draft is coming up, so I mean, just to go over some of the top things. So the Grizzlies sent Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic, the first blockbuster trade of the offseason, for KCP, Cole Anthony, and 4 first-round picks and a pick swap. And I guess my whole take is like these players are just like, I mean, Desmond Bane, like, is he really like even that good? Like, I mean, I never knew him to be like much of like that big of a star. Like, I know he's like a good player and everything. He's versatile. He plays several different positions, but I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, that's just very interesting. So, like, I mean, to the Magic of all teams too, which are not really like particularly a contender. I don't know. It's just like a weird trade to me. Like, I mean, I feel like Bane was like a big part of the Grizzlies and everything too. I don't know. What do you think both of these teams like perspectives are on them? Because they both seem like kind of middling teams. They made a big move it's a hefty price. I mean, I don't know. I just don't really know what to make of this. Like, to be honest.
Well, the Magic are on the come up. I mean,
they are. Yeah,
they are. The Grizzlies have been that middling team for a while and have realized it's not working. So, or whatever they're doing is not working. In all honesty,
yeah,
they've been that fringe playoff team, middling team, not making a run team for a while now. I think it's really just. I feel like Orlando's trying to get things going, get the rebuild going faster, while the Grizzlies realize it's time for a retool. This isn't working.
That's true. I feel like they are also a team who's had a lot of talent, and like Ja Morant's obviously one of the most electrifying players in the NBA, and they have pieces around them, but it's for some reason it just hasn't really worked out. And I don't know. I mean, part of it's just how much talent there is in the West. I mean, they got matched against the Thunder team that we just talked about for like, the past 30 minutes, like, and how good they are, like in the first round, and they went home in 4 games. And that was a really weird sweep too, because it felt like there were some games the Grizzlies absolutely could have won, and then there were some games that were just like humiliation ritual games, and like there was just, it felt like every time the Grizzlies got closer to winning a game, and they never did. It was like a bizarre sweep, but I mean the point is that they were definitely just nowhere near like contention. Yeah. So I think they had to blow that up. I mean they have like, they have Kennard, they have like Kyle Anderson, they have Zach Edey, they have like a lot of interesting young talent on that team now. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They have Jaren Jackson, who I really like as well. I mean, yeah, so it'll be interesting. Now they have KCP and Cole Anthony, two of the young players on the Magic. They have 4 first rounders, so it definitely looks like they're rebuilding. Another move that happened recently was the Pacers. They traded their number 23, their 23rd pick, and Mojave King to the Pelicans to get their 2026 first round pick back, which is interesting because I think they originally had it and they traded it to the Pelicans, something like that. So that's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know what that's exactly going to amount to in terms of the draft.
Pacers won that. I mean, not Pacers. Pelicans won that trade. I mean, you're getting a player and a pick.
And a pick.
For a pick that you took from them to begin with.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's interesting that these teams are already like making these trades now. I mean, we haven't even gone, but the draft is also like sneaking up on us too. I mean, it's only about
like a week away, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I guess another thing, some other big NBA trade news. Well, I saw like Giannis like appears to be staying with the Bucks after a lot of speculation. The Nets have been in the running for him. The Raptors, in case he wants to move. Many other teams as well. I mean, I've seen the Knicks. I've seen a whole bunch of teams in speculation, but it looks like he wants to stay with the Bucks. That's the only team he's known his whole career, and it just, for whatever reason, it hasn't really worked out so well for them. Obviously, the last 2 years they were into the Pacers. The health has been a big issue. Dame Lillard going down with the torn Achilles, which was very unfortunate. They traded away Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma, which I still don't really get that one, because Chris Middleton was like a really, really solid player for the Bucks, and like, just an elite, like really good scorer, 3-level scorer. Like you don't find those like that often. Like, and he fit their team so well. Kyle Kuzma is just not the same type. Like he looks like he's the same caliber player, but he's just not. So like, I didn't really like that trade at the time, but regardless of that, like Dame and Giannis, a good duo, but I don't know. I mean, looks like Giannis is for now going to stay with Milwaukee. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what moves they try to make as they, try to keep their title window open, because I mean, like obviously Dame Lillard's going to be, injured, or he's coming back. But maybe they try to pair Giannis with another star or something like that. Who knows? But because I know they want to keep their their title window open, but it just it feels like they're going to need some help to do that. So yeah, and then I think another big one would be Kevin Durant, because I think it's all but certain that he is going to be traded this offseason for like feels like the first time in like 5 off seasons, even though it's not, because he's just like, how does like everyone like? I mean, does he do people even like Kevin Durant anymore? Because like he's done this to like so many teams at this point. Like it's just like getting ridiculous. Like
I don't know if he's well liked at all.
The ultimate snake.
I don't like him. So
no, definitely not. But I mean, I like his game. Like I feel like if you were to build an NBA superstar, like you'd want him or you want his attributes. Like you want like he has like elite size, elite scoring, shooting. He's like the perfect like prototype of like what I would want in an NBA player, I guess. You know what I mean? But like just the way he's built and everything. He's athletic. I mean, he's 7 feet. He's like an elite shooter. Like he's pretty much everything you want. But like just his decision making and like so I mean it just keeps burning out. Like he's getting older. He's not the same player he used to be. But I don't know. It just hasn't really worked out in Phoenix the way that, obviously the Suns have wanted. I mean, they haven't really been like much more than a fringe playoff team all these years. If that, I mean, they got swept by the Wolves last year. I don't even think they made the play in this year, which is like, it's hard to do when there's only like 15, like when there's only 5 teams who don't make the play in tournament. But yeah, so I mean, Thunder just not the Thunder. That was like 10 years ago, but the Suns not really like it. And every time it's not really working out for Kevin Durant, he likes to change teams. So I'm seeing that so his preferred destinations, as reported by Shams Charania, of course, the Heat, the Rockets, and the Spurs. So it seems like he's trying to take an income tax break, I guess, because those are good states for him. They don't have to pay those, but also teams that are, could be contenders or like kind of on the rise, but they could also use like a star like Kevin Durant. Like, I mean, the Rockets, obviously they finished second in the West. They lost to Golden State in the playoffs, but which feels like a long time ago now. But I mean, you put Kevin Durant on that team. I mean, they have a lot of young talent they could trade away. The San Antonio Spurs, I mean, that would be an interesting one. I don't know if that's going to happen, honestly. I feel like they already have like a lot going on for them. So
they do, but imagine how dangerous that might be too.
Durant with like Wembanyama and like Fox and Castle and Harper. Like they probably have to trade their pick, right? If they were to
That's
get
a super team right there.
Yeah, they would be so good because we're
actually
if
they keep Harper.
Yeah, they might have to trade that pick away for to get Durant. Imagine the Suns getting like the second pick, like with Dylan Harper. That'll be an interesting scenario too. But yeah, no, the Spurs with Kevin Durant, put him in with Wemby, because we were doing this project for one of my classes where I think we slotted Brandon Ingram in that position, who's a very similar player to Durant, and we were just imagining what that team would look like with like their guards like De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle. I mean, Brandon Ingram. You have Wembanyama in there, and now you take out Ingram and you put Durant, who's like an even better version of that. Like with that kind of size in the lineup is just like it's sensational. So that's another one. Miami, the third team on that list. I feel like Miami needs a jolt because they're kind of also like in the middle. Like they're kind of like after they made their run to the final, especially without Butler now, they've kind of just been like in that range where they're like not really that good, but they're kind of good. But they have a lot of talent. They have like Adebayo. They have certain pieces. I don't even really know, but I mean, you know what I mean? Well, I mean, they have Tyler Hero. They have certain guys on their team that are like pretty capable, but I mean, then they have Jaime Jaquez Jr. It's I think Kyle Lowry went to Philly, but they have some of the pieces that they had, but I feel like they could really use a star. Like, I mean, that would just be so interesting. I mean, like, imagine Kevin Durant in like Miami. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that'd be an interesting fit, but like, yeah. So those are his 3 preferred destinations. I mean, I don't know which one he's gonna go to, but I feel like the Rockets or the Spurs in particular would also be really interesting because they're both up and coming teams. They both have a lot of young talent, but I feel like they could both use like a player like Durant to really like take the next step up the ranks in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, wherever he goes, he's going to elevate them to a certain level. But I don't know if he's getting a ring, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, I don't really see that anymore because I mean, he's also not the same player he used to be either. Like he's also like getting older, and he's gonna be worth so much. They're gonna have to trade so much away. Like it's hard to really build a contender around like Kevin Durant at this stage in his career. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to see him winning a championship with any. I mean, there's so much talent. Like look at the Thunder. These homegrown teams like the Pacers and the Thunder, like they've had so much more success. And then even among the superstar teams, I mean, you have the Warriors, you have the Lakers. Like those teams are probably still going to be better than like Kevin Durant. Oh, no, maybe not. But like I mean, like it's going to be like a lot for. I mean, I don't think Kevin Durant could really be the primary option on a championship team anymore. Like he's not there. And even if he is, like the team around him is not going to be there. As we've seen in this playoffs that, even like the Lakers and Warriors, how much they've like, not been able to get by some of these better teams, like that kind of thing's going to happen too again. So anyway, that's going to be a big offseason piece where Kevin Durant gets traded again. So other than that, I know we were talking about this. I was seeing Ace Bailey's draft stock was like sliding a little bit because he he's been, I guess, refusing to work out with some teams, although he's scheduled to work out with Philadelphia. I mean, I've seen mock drafts where he slips all the way down to the Washington Wizards at 6. I think that's about as far as he'd fall. There's a lot of, I mean, his upside is as good as anybody in the NBA. So, I mean, like, I mean, all these teams could really utilize him. But I guess where do you think Ace Bailey like falls, if he falls at all in this NBA draft?
In all honesty, I don't want him to fall. I mean, if he falls, he better fall to number 8. That's all I care about.
Mm-hmm.
However, do you really want him to go into the Pelicans? Do you want him going to Charlotte? Do you want him going to the Wizards? Teams that are annually bad? No.
Right? Yeah.
Like, exactly. No. Teams that are, I'm like, teams that are annually bad, forever bad. I don't think, man, I can't remember a single one of those teams being good.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the 76ers, they're going to do what's best for them, and I think that the fact that he refused to go to a workout shows that, number one, they could have a disgruntled player on their hands because they could have to deal with somebody that wants to be a star immediately. So I don't know if they even want that headache coming right out of the gate for his upside.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I guess I could see him going like number 4, number 5. It's the 76ers themselves that were slighted by his antics. So not like he pulled some antics against a completely unrelated team, but it was the 76ers themselves. So I can see him going like 4 or 5.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think he slides past 6. I mean, all these teams could also use scoring because frankly they just don't really have a lot of it anyway. But I mean, if I would hope that he would go to Philly. I mean, even though it's not the best fit, and obviously as a Nets fan, I wouldn't really want to see that either. But like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, kind of like the Mavs and the Spurs, like they have a high upside. They, this year injuries kind of derailed them, but they have a lot of talent on that team. And Ace Bailey could slide in nicely between Paul George and Joel Embiid if they can get that guard situation figured out, which I think would be like a ferocious lineup. And if one of them gets injured, Ace Bailey would be able to slide in on either one of those spots, or at least hold down the fort, which they could also really use considering how much time both of those two missed last season. So either way, like it could work out if you went to Philly. I mean, they're definitely a much better option than some of these other teams, but I don't see them sliding past Washington. And then in terms of the Nets, I mean, like, they're picking 8. I've seen recent mock drafts with them selecting Kamon Malawach, the center from Duke, who, I mean, is kind of a solid player, but he's had his struggles. I'm not really too fond of that. I mean, I've seen Fears being mocked to Brooklyn for a long time. I really like him. Knipple, though, is a player, if he's available, I'd really want to pounce on. I mean, just a really good shooter off the ball. He has size. I mean, I think he's the guy like I really want. I don't know if he's going to end up going earlier or later, but I feel like he's the player that I want the Nets to get with their 8th pick. And they still have like a lot of other picks to address the center position. They have Nick Claxton and everything as well. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if they. I hope they can get one of these guards because there's a lot of talent in this draft, and I hope they could pull Knebel or Fears or like someone like that, because I feel like that would be the best use of their talent, I guess, or I think that would be a really good addition to the roster if they can get a player like that.
Yeah, I mean, what do the Nets need? The Nets need pretty much everything.
Yeah,
I kind of agree. I don't want to see I want to see Malach or Malach. I don't know.
Malach, I think.
Malach.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I hope that they try to trade up. They make some effort, bundle your picks together,
they have some
and try to go get a star.
players too. Like if Cam Johnson's been on the trade block for like a long time, like if they could end up trading like maybe him or some of their other young players or their picks, some sort of combination of that. I mean, maybe they could even keep the. I mean, they're probably gonna have to trade the 8th pick, but I mean they've like 4 like I think first rounders or something like that. I mean, it's like ridiculous. Cam Thomas, I want, obviously they're gonna want to rebuild around, but they need someone to pair up with him. If they can end up getting Dylan Harper at number 2, and the Spurs also have a lot of guards. They have De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle. So I mean, they could potentially end up trading back, but I mean the Nets. Yeah, I mean, hopefully the Nets can end up making a big swing because they have like 5 picks in the draft, and they have several young players who can end up being in the trade. And I feel like they need something to jolt their rebuild too, because it's just kind of been getting worse and worse. And if they could end up pairing Harper with like Cam Thomas at shooting guard, like this will be a really fun team. Like this would be like a really fun team. So like that would be the ideal situation. If not, I'd be more than happy if they can get like Knipple or Fears or like one of the other like guards in the draft, because I feel like they need like a bit of everything, but I feel like they could really use like one of those young guards or shooting forward, small forwards, like something to ignite the offense really, because so we'll see what they end up doing, but I think that's kind of like my idea of that.
Definitely. Would you want to pivot over to baseball?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So yeah, I guess onto baseball. The Yankees are not really doing too good as of late, unfortunately. Well, they did sweep the Kansas City Royals a few series ago, but since then hasn't really been too good. They seem to kind of have a Red Sox problem because they lost 2 of 3 in the first series, and then they swept Kansas City. Then they got swept by the Sox. Their offense has been very dormant. They've had 1 run, 3 runs, 0 runs, and then 0 again. They haven't scored in 20 innings, so their bats are just really struggling. Like it just seems like something's a little bit off about their offense as of late. And Giancarlo Stanton is officially back in the lineup, which is going to be huge because he's one of their best hitters on the team. But it just feels like they've kind of hit a little bit of a lull, and like I don't really know like what that means. I mean, maybe it's just a mid-season lull, but they're quickly losing their grip on the division. I mean, the Rays, the Jays, and the Sox are like all not that far off the pace right now, so they have to kind of get this figured out quickly because like this doesn't really look good. Like the way that they've been playing these last few games for sure.
I mean, first of all, dropping that many to your rival. Yikes. I know that the Red Sox fans have used this as plenty of ammunition against the Yankees fans. Especially when you go, like you said, 20 innings without scoring.
Yeah, it's like over 2 games worth, pretty much.
Yeah, that's like 2 games, 2 games and 2 innings.
Yeah, that's just like not good, honestly. Like,
it's
very like, yeah. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know. It just seems like players have cooled off from early strong starts, and then there hasn't really been a lot to like, replace that, I guess. And I mean, I guess Aaron Judge can only do so much, so it's just like,
I feel like the Yankees have a tendency to do this. They come thundering out of the gate, then they hit a wall around the middle of the season, and then
they kind of
they'll look like
right?
They'll look bad to average from like June to July, and then take off again in August. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here. Do just good enough to get in the playoffs, but this team isn't winning anything.
Yeah, they definitely don't look like last year's team, but so it looks like they moved Ben Rice out of the lineup for Giancarlo Stanton, but I feel like that's a big bat for the Yankees. I mean, especially with Trent Grisham kind of slowing down everything, like
Sexy G.
Yeah. I feel like it's good to have him back. In last game or his first game back with the team, he went 2 for 4. They lost in 11 innings to the Angels. So I was watching a little bit of that while I was watching the finals game, but it's just rough. But I guess speaking of those, hopefully they get that back together. It's a long season, so I mean, not really too worried just yet. But speaking of the Red Sox, one of the major trades happened. They traded Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. They received 4 players in return, including Kyle Harrison, a couple of other pitchers, Jordan Hicks, and James Tibbs as a prospect. But that's a big trade because, I mean, he was like really, one of their top players, top hitters and everything. It seems like there was some struggles given his position. Like they wanted him to move from third base to the designated hitter spot, and then he refused to move from there to first base. So it seems like there's just some gruntling with him in the situation, and it kind of seems like they have a tendency to do that. They traded Mookie Betts away, some of their other star players. So I guess what does this trade mean for like the Red Sox and everything else going on with their organization?
Well, in reality, that it really shows that there might be a problem up at the top of the organization where they're alienating players rather than, because like a Mookie Betts, that's a legend right there.
Yeah.
And he wanted to leave. He wanted out.
Yeah.
And then you have Devers, who also showed some signs of disgruntled. I think, well, first of all, I think that San Fran might be going for an all-in push with this, or at least might be looking to make a push to that next level of competition, because you don't sell that much to get one guy if you're not trying to make a step up somewhere.
Right.
With Boston, it just sounds like they're accepting that this is the retool, this is the rebuild. Get all these guys for the future. Hopefully stuff works out, essentially.
Yeah. No, yeah. Totally agree about that. Yeah, and then I guess another news in terms of the same team, the Red Sox, they called up their number 1 prospect, Roman Anthony from AAA. He hit his first home run in Seattle, so looks like a lot of these prospects are making it up the ladder. Yeah, I mean, seems like it seems like he's a pretty good prospect. They're gaining ground in the standings too, but I'm still a little bit behind, I guess. But
they got a while to make up. I'm pretty sure they're still like second to last in the East.
That's true. Yeah. And the Rays are like the closest team right now to the Yankees. They're about 2.5 games behind, and then the Blue Jays. So, yeah, and the Tigers are looking really good. The Mets are still looking pretty good as well. Yeah,
that's gonna come crashing down. It's the Mets. Come on. Now.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Right. The Cubs, Dodgers still lead. Shohei Ohtani's pitching. He had his first start on the mound in quite some time. He had 100 miles, which is like pretty cool for him. But yeah, I mean, I guess that pretty much sums up the baseball. I guess just to end the episode here, some soccer. A lot of soccer is going on in the U.S. They have the Gold Cup, which is the continental competition. The U.S. got a 5-0 victory over Trinidad and Tobago, which is good for them because snaps a 4-game losing skid under their new manager, Mauricio Pochettino. Christian Pulisic, who I guess some fans know as Captain America, is not participating in the tournament. He's taking the summer off. But there's a lot of other young stars like Diego Luna and so many other ones participating. So, I mean, it's good news for the U.S. Men's national team, who's definitely taken a step back to the women's team in recent years. I mean, they just haven't really been great in a while. And that, last year they kind of got embarrassed in the Gold Cup. They didn't make it out of the group stage. I mean, Mexico's also been struggling a lot recently too. So it just doesn't really bode well, I guess, given that the World Cup is going to be in the States next year, and Mexico and Canada. And Canada is actually looking like the best of 3 teams, but a good start for the U.S. I mean, obviously Trinidad and Tobago is not the best team, but a lot of their young stars like Malik Tillman, Patrick Aguimang, not sure if I pronounced that right. Diego Luna had an effort where he created an assist, but all of these young stars, they contributed. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that continues. I mean, it would be really good if the U.S. can make it out of the group stage and compete for the Gold Cup this year. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think the more exciting tournament is the Club World Cup.
Wait, hold on. Before we move on from that,
okay.
If you want to talk about U.S. soccer, and you're talking about the men's team taking the backseat to the women's team,
yeah,
we have to talk about this. The men in the United States, soccer is the number 5 sport for all men in the United States.
right.
Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and then soccer.
Yeah, I agree.
In all honesty, with just our sheer country size and how much we value athletic performance and how much we value sports,
Right.
if we had soccer as our number 1 sport, we would be a consistent threat to win it all. But in the end, other than a lot of people who move here from overseas and very few people that just are connected to soccer, not a lot of people care. People don't really care about, and when they do, they do immigrate here, they don't care about the U.S. soccer team. They're watching their home country's team. There's not a lot of homegrown support for United States soccer. And in all honesty, the fact that we are just an average team, to me, that's a huge achievement considering how everywhere else it's the sport, the biggest sport. But here it's the 5th biggest sport, and we're still an average team.
Yeah.
In reality, with how much everybody else values it, with how much they play, with how much they care about it, we should be horrible, but we're not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a very good point, honestly. And I mean, I feel like there is a lot of emphasis on soccer. Like, it's grown recently, and there's a lot of emphasis on youth soccer. I mean, there's a lot of leagues like high school, college. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. And there's a lot of talent in the U.S.
I understand that
talent finds the field at some point, basically. Is what I'm trying to say.
I understand that to a point. That soccer has grown in the States, yes. But if you really want to boil down to everything, the Super Bowl is getting more viewers. Basketball is getting more viewers. Hockey is growing in the States. Yeah. Lacrosse has been growing for the past 20 years. Nobody cares about lacrosse.
Exactly.
It's been growing, but growing from what?
Right, yeah.
The only sport in the United States that's quote unquote dying is baseball.
Yeah.
Or the only major sport in the United States that is quote unquote dying is baseball. Just because a sport is growing in the United States doesn't mean that we're going to be turning around and being pipelined for talent anytime soon. the fact that football is number one, American football, that American football is still number one, and it's still growing inside the United States, just kind of tells me nothing's going anywhere except for maybe baseball falling down a couple levels.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a really good point about them being like soccer not really being a priority, but them still being like an average team. And yeah, I mean, there's still like some emphasis on soccer, and I guess like I said, like the talent kind of does find the field, but it's not really, I guess, where it could be if they really invested in it, like it was the top sport in the US. But
exactly,
I mean, even like the MLS and like the NWSL, like and the women's side and everything, they're like kind of big, but they're not really like nearly as big as these other leagues. Like not that many people really care over the baseball or football or even basketball or hockey, which have both, I think, grown quite a bit recently. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if they did put more emphasis on like professional soccer, especially, like it could be somewhere. But I guess speaking of that, like I mean, the other tournament that's going on in the US that's really big right now in soccer is the Club World Cup. And this one's very interesting because like the world's best club football teams are all competing in the States for one trophy, which that typically doesn't really happen all that often. You have powers like PSG, who just won the Champions League, Real Madrid, everyone's favorite soccer teams in the world. That's what I mean. Even in the US, like a lot of everyone's favorite teams are like international teams, not like MLS teams too. So Bayern Munich, Man City. So it's a really cool chance for people to see how these leagues stack up against each other. Some of the American teams are also in the tournament. Messi joining Inter Miami's kind of put them on the map internationally. So they had their first match. They drew with Al Ahly, which I think is a Saudi Arabian club. LAFC falling 2-0 to Chelsea, where there wasn't a lot of a crowd because it was like a Monday afternoon in Atlanta, and not that many people, I guess, came in either side. The Seattle Sounders, the other MLS team, to make it, losing to Botafogo, which I think is a South American team from, I think, Brazil. But it's really interesting to see. Wait, what?
Sounds like it.
Sounds like it. Yeah, I believe so. I don't know. It's just like it's interesting to see like who's really the best. It looks like the top teams are probably going to like obviously PSG just won the Champions League. I think Man City won this tournament last time. I think they won the Premier League. Real Madrid's very good. Bayern Munich's very good. I think one of the other interesting storylines is that I mean, yeah, this is a big tournament. There's a lot of clubs, but there's also a lot of like disparity in the levels, because with these big clubs, there's one team called Auckland City who's not actually a professional team. They're an amateur team, and they got blasted 10-0 by Bayern Munich. So the reason that happened, I was reading, is because I think the professional teams in their area are like, I don't know, there's something weird, like their owners have their business in both Australia and New Zealand or something like that, which is kind of like, well, they're both in different confederations. Like one's in Australia and one's in Asia, the Asian Football Confederation. One's with the Oceania or something. So then they end up Auckland City usually gets the rep for like the club team who competes for New Zealand basically in these tournaments, or maybe even for the whole region of Oceania. So, but they're just like not on the same level, like an amateur team going against like Bayern Munich, and like and that definitely showed up in the score line. I mean, we saw 10-0, which you never see in soccer. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of like like your FCS game in football. It's kind of like, but like a bit worse because that team's not even professional and the other one is. So it's just like a bit humiliating. But I think, and then in the first, I guess what people had as the first big match in the tournament, PSG took on Atletico Madrid, who's also a pretty solid squad from La Liga, but they won 4-0. I don't know. I mean, I really wish I knew a little bit more about who's like, on all of these teams, but PSG is obviously very good. So yeah, no, it's really interesting though to see this tournament in the US, like the best teams from all the different leagues competing against each other. So I guess by the end of this, I know Madrid has Mbappe. I think Neymar is like in South America right now, but I think he might end up going back to Europe. And then yeah, I mean all these teams. I think Harry Kane's in Bayern Munich. and then Manchester City's led by Erling Haaland, who's like one of the other top players. So like it's going to be really interesting to see who ends up winning this tournament, and also can the MLS teams like really compete? I mean, I know like Inter Miami has Messi, and like that's a huge draw to U.S. soccer and everything, of course. But like can these teams really like compete against the best in the world, in Europe, and because those are really where the best club teams are, especially. So I think those are all really good storylines for this. It'll be interesting to see that. And what we're 1 year away from the World Cup in 2026. So this is a good like lead up tournament to get all the logistics out for all of that. A lot of the bigger matches are going to happen at MetLife. The semifinals and the finals of the Club World Cup are going to happen there. So, I mean, I think it's going to be really exciting. So, I mean, there's a lot of good soccer around these parts. If anyone's interested in seeing that, I guess one thing I would say is I really wish they would just leave the turf, the natural grass in MetLife instead of the artificial turf that seems to injure the Giants, the Jets, and visiting players, because that's just like nobody wants to play there because of that. And it would be really nice if they actually just went to natural grass, but it just doesn't seem like they're really going to, unfortunately. But
doesn't look like
yeah, because I mean, soccer players would definitely not be able to play on that turf. Like they'd all be like going down with all sorts of injuries. So, but yeah, oh well, it's too bad, I guess. But soccer, the Club World Cup, a lot of fun. The Gold Cup as well. But I mean, I think that's about gonna do it here for this episode. Obviously we talked a lot about Rutgers football, the season, the Blackout Game. We talked about MLB. We talked about the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals, the off season. I mean, I guess next episode will probably be shifting into more of this off season stuff. Free agency, the draft is going to be in just about a week's time. Maybe some more soccer, but and our final recap of the NBA and Stanley Cup Finals, which is going to be super exciting as well. But in the meantime, this has been another episode of SportsVibe. I'm your host, Arnav Sarkar, here with Andrew Rice, and as always, we will see you next time.
Later, guys.